Give me a P.
P.
Give me an H.
H.
Give me a B.
B.
What do you say?
Hey.
Give me a P.
P.
Give me an H.
H.
Give me a B.
B.
What do you say?
Hey.
Hey, welcome to Promote Her Business, where we promote your business online, offline, all the time. My name is Josephine Hanna, but you can call me Jose, and I'm your host for our entire Promotion Pro series. At Promote Her Business, we believe that if you want to have the ultimate promotion advantage, you need to do what others don't so you can get what others won't. And one way to really put yourself ahead of the curve is to learn the secrets to success on Meetup. Meetup is the world's largest network of local groups. Meetup boasts an impressive 9 million visitors a month and meets in 45,000 cities worldwide. So really the question for today is, how do you get the most from using Meetup as a platform, and how do you go from just growing your audience to really even developing deeper relationships with the communities that you're building? Today we are having one of our most exciting interviews yet, because we are going to be hearing from a relationship and networking expert on how she was successful and is successful on Meetup. And she says that our network is really our net worth, and meetups are really there to bridge the humanity gap to build rapport, resources, relationships, and revenues that rock. I don't know about you, but I certainly can get behind that. And what we're specifically going to cover today is our success story. Is going to share about why she decided to use Meetup. She's going to share about how to leverage Meetup to get on other people's stages, and also how to go from just hosting a meetup to really building deeper relationships within your community, and much more. So you're going to want to hear every single word on this. So get to a quiet place and take out a pen, a piece of paper, and take some copious notes. It is now my pleasure to introduce our featured expert for today. Her name is Angel West. Angel West is the CEO of Mingle to Millions. That's mingle2millions.com. And Mingle to Millions is the art and science of building business relationships and mastering referrals. Mingle to Millions is the name of the book and signature talk for Angel West. And Angel started networking professionally 16 years ago, has been to thousands of networking events, and after much trial and error, I'm sure many of you can relate to that, after much trial and error in networking, she came up with this simple 3-step processing for networking with confidence. And what she says is using Meetup is a fabulous way to engage these 3 steps. And what Angel is going to do is she's going to share with us the best practices about being an entrepreneur who networks and who speaks from stages to attract clients, build credibility, and leverage time. And she's going to share her success story of really leveraging Meetup as a platform to do it. So Angel, are you there?
I am here, and I am on fire to talk about this topic.
Woohoo! I love it. I love it. So I know I told everybody just a little bit about your business, but can you tell us a little bit more about who you are, what you're passionate about, and how you ended up on Meetup?
Well, let me take just a minute to, first of all, thank you for having me on. The more you talk about Meetup in the introduction, the more excited I am to share my experience with that. And I think it's really important that we let the listeners know where I come from, because it's great to say, oh, you got a book and you do Meetup, but I come from very, very humble beginnings. 16 years ago, I had moved from one part of the country to another. I was a single mother. I was broke. I was an active alcoholic. And there came a day where I went to the daycare, and I went to pick up my daughter. And if you can imagine a little 2-year-old girl, cute, blonde hair, big brown eyes, and I go to pick her up, and my breath hits her and reverbs back to me, and I can smell the alcohol in my own breath. And I realized at that moment that everything had to change. I knew that I was going to be an embarrassment to her, that one day she would know what that was. And I just had a really awakening. And I knew that I needed to not only get sober and put the booze down, but also change my association, who I was hanging out with at that time. As you can imagine, we're not exactly uplifting, positive go-getters. It was a whole different breed sitting on the bar stool. And so I knew that I had to change my association. And that's when I started to network. And I did everything wrong. You know, I gathered a ton of cards and didn't follow up. I sprayed my card everywhere. I talk about that in the book, about the difference between being a skunk and spraying your card everywhere, and being a squirrel and gathering your cards, and being the shark that's swimming through the room looking for someone to build, buy your product or join your business. And I've done all of those things. And so I understand the trials and tribulations of going to literally thousands of meetings and seeing those same actions over and over. And that's why I came up with my system that we're going to talk about, and how I apply it in Meetup is so yummy to use that platform. It is, like you just said, 45,000 cities. I didn't even realize it was that big. But to use Meetup as a way to attract clients, to create credibility, and to leverage your time is absolutely the way to go. The 3 pillars of my program are set intention, pay attention, and create retention. And there is no better way to do that than through Meetup.
I love that. I love that. And I think a lot of our community are pretty hardcore networkers. They're out there, and I just loved, I was chuckling as you were talking about the different categories you had for people, whether they're a skunk or a squirrel or they're a shark, and it's really interesting. I think there's not enough time really spent on people thinking about what their persona is and what they're giving off, in terms of their networking, whether it's in person or online. So I really appreciate you being with us today.
I really appreciate you noticing those archetypes, because we all see those same people at every event we go to, every event. And so if we don't want to be a shark, and we don't want to be a skunk, and we don't want to be a squirrel, then what do we want to be? So here's where Meetup steps in. We want to be a spider. Why do we want to be a spider? In this analogy, let's think about the spider. She finds a place in a window or on a branch or a tree and starts making connections. She chooses places to connect. And as she is connecting, she is crisscrossing those connections. She is creating that web for herself. And when the spider has created that web, let's think about what she does. She sits back and she waits for that which she wants to come to her. And so when I talk about net webbing, think about the internet, think about face-to-face, Facebook, or on the phone, any kind of interaction. When we are creating a net web and really building those relationships and having those crisscross relationships that we're introducing people, etc., and Meetup is a great way to do this. Now that we have that web, that which we want simply comes to us. I'm on this interview with you right now because of creating a net web and being introduced by someone who had respect for me and had respect for you and thought that we would be a good fit. So you and I are right now practicing creating a net web. And so let's talk about how we do that with Meetup.
I love it. And I'm really curious. There's so many different platforms out there that you can use to, potentially netweb with people. How did you specifically choose Meetup?
Well, it's interesting. Many, many years ago, I had moved to a new city, specifically in this scenario, New York City, and I was in network marketing. And in network marketing, you're building business. You're looking for new business partners. You're building relationships, etc. And I was the recruiting networking queen. In that specific business, I had a team of 10,000 people, and I personally recruited 131. And one of the ways I did it was through Meetup. So I get to this new area. So there's 3 ways that Meetup will really benefit you. If you want to grab the diamonds that are in your own backyard, in other words, use the meetups right around you within a 25, 50-mile radius. If you want to create a new market, because you're moving to a new area, you can create a new market and a new net web in that market before you get there or while you're moving there. Or I've also done this to create a speaking tour, create my own speaking tour, pick the cities that I wanted to speak in, reach out to those meetups and create a speaking tour anywhere in the country that I want to speak. So those are the three ways that Meetup is beneficial. So in this particular scenario, I had moved to New York City. The only people I knew there were already on my team. It was my job to go out and meet new people. The best way to do that is through Meetup. Now, the average person would just go on Meetup, find the networking groups, and go, and just sit in the group and hand out business cards and pray that something would happen. For me, I use Meetup as a way to reach out to the leader of the group and let them know that I could come in and teach their group how to network. So they would have me come in as the edified expert and put me on the stage. So here's where it's yummy. This is about how we can create credibility, leverage time, and attract clients. Imagine, if you will, you're on the stage. You are creating credibility. Everybody sees you as the expert. You've been introduced. You're giving them a taste of what you do, number one. Number two, they are attracted to you. So instead of being in the room and begging for business cards or chasing people around, etc., at the end of the presentation, the people who want what you have come to you. You built a net web. You are attracting. They're coming to you. And the third thing is you're leveraging your time. If you're going to spend an hour in that room, an hour getting there and an hour going home, you can be one of the 30 or 50 people sitting in the chair, or you can be the one in front of the room, leveraging your time and actually attracting the most highly qualified contacts, and they see you as the expert. You don't have to explain what you do. You just showed them. So it's the perfect platform to do all those things.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm curious, Angel, have you put on your own events versus speaking on other people's stages? And is there anything you'd like to share with the audience about that?
Oh boy. So for years, I would just get on other people's stages. I didn't want to babysit a group. I didn't want to run one. I didn't understand all the benefits of it. But then I met a gentleman named Sunel. And Sunel has a way of explaining that with Meetup, it's a great SEO. Meetup plays great with Google. You know, once you're in Meetup groups and you're putting in your content, et cetera, Google finds you and starts to bring people back to your website, et cetera. So it's a great SEO platform, and he taught me a lot of other things about it. So I really highly recommend Sunel as a person to help with the technical aspect and how to set up the Meetup and when to set it up, et cetera. Because when I finally decided to have my own Meetup group, I worked with him step by step, and my very first Meetup, when I put it up, within less than 24 hours, the seats were full. It was coming up 2 or 3 weeks later. Within 48 hours, we had a waiting list of 75% over capacity to go to this Meetup group. So my very first one was a huge success. The room was packed. In this case, the room was big enough. I believe it was maybe 40 people, but there was people standing. It was packed. And the thing about running your own Meetup is this gives you a chance to go out and talk to people about venues. It gives you a chance to talk to people about sponsoring your event. It gives you a chance to learn about, really putting the room together. The thing is here's a tip for everyone. If you're thinking about doing a Meetup yourself, it is imperative that you go to other people's Meetups, other entrepreneurial groups, other business networking groups, and get there early. Get there 30 minutes early and help them set up. Unfortunately, most of them aren't going to know how to set up. In my case, in network marketing, I had masters who were setting up rooms, and I was always there early. And so I learned how to set up the chairs, to have music, to have some music. I say that a lot because you walk into a room and it's dead silent. It's awkward. And it's painful. You need a little bit of music to break that up. That's why stores at the mall have music on. You start bouncing your head and you hang out for a while, right? So when I did my first meetup, I already knew all of that. I knew to have all of that in place. And now that I have my own meetups, other meetup leaders reach out to me. I reach out to other meetup leaders, and I have more credibility because I'm also a meetup leader. And how I use this actually to create that speaking tour, I had a speaking gig in Miami in February, and so I created a meetup group in Miami. Do I live in Miami? No. Have I been back since? No, but it's still growing, and I'll tell you how. Created this meetup group. Because I knew that I was going to speak, I reached out to about 30 other meetup groups, and I have a specific email that I'll send out explaining who I am and what I'm wanting to do. Every time I do this, I don't get everybody to respond, but I don't need everybody to respond. I'll have one person that will be on fire, that will come pick me up at the airport, that is just really wanting me to be a part of their group so I can speak at their group. So now I've got the original speaking gig I had, I've got the one that I got from another meetup, and now I've created my own meetup. So now I've got 3 speaking gigs in that one town that I can go to in 2 or 3 months when I want to. So that's one of the ways that I use Meetup.
Mm-hmm. And do you find, I mean, you said that you're reaching out to organizers of different meetup groups. Do you find that they're usually responsive, like they'll at least tell you, I got this, or yes, you're in, or no, you're not, or do you feel like it's normal for people not to get back to you, or what has been your experience?
Great question. So for anyone who is wanting to networking doesn't work because it's random activity. Netwebbing leverages time through planned strategy. So to answer your question, I call this research, reach out, relationship build. We want to research the person who is the co-founder, the founder, the organizer. We can even research the people along the right-hand side that are going to the meeting. In other words, if we want to see who are people that are out networking in that area, we can pull those people, research. And I'm not talking about hours. I'm talking about 30 seconds. Like, just look and see who they are, what they do, their picture, whatever. Research, reach out. So when we reach out, we want to, in our reach out, so specifically for an organizer, if I'm wanting to speak, the first thing I'm going to put in that, it's not an email, it's a message in Meetup. First thing I'm going to put is something personal. Hey, I love your headshot. Where'd you get it done? Hey, I love the name of this group, Entrepreneurs on Fire. What a great name. In other words, something personal so they know that I looked at them, that this isn't just a copied and paste. Now in the middle, I am going to have something that I copy and paste over and over because I'm talking about myself and, what it is that I have in mind, blah, blah, blah. And then at the end, here's the trick. Here's the deal. Here's where you got to be a guerrilla marketer. You got to think of these things. You want to put a call to action. What a lot of people do is they'll say something about whatever, or they'll say, hey, I see we're going to the same meeting. I look forward to seeing you there, and they just leave it. But you want to have a call to action at the end that engages them in a back and forth, in a banter, in a question and answer, in some way of creating that conversation. And it can be a myriad of ways, but you can say, I'd love to send you my speaker packet. Would you prefer an email, or would sending it in Facebook Messenger be better? Right? In other words, I give them a choice, and now psychologically, people like to respond. Now that they've been given 2 choices, they'll respond and say, well, I'd really rather have an email. Here's my email. Or I'd rather have it in LinkedIn. Here's my LinkedIn, or whatever it is. Or I can say something like, hey, I'm looking forward to seeing you at the meeting. I'm going to get there early. Would you like me to save you 1 seat? Or are you bringing a business partner? I can save you 2. In other words, whatever it is that we're saying, always have a call to action at the end that gets them engaged in conversation. And to be more specific to your question, I don't expect anyone to answer. I get that people in general, they've got busy lives, they've got great intention, but they don't always respond. And that's why I said, when I went to Miami that time, I sent out about 30 of these and had maybe 5 responses. And at the end of the day, had one guy that was super excited and on fire. But that's all I needed because his group was 75 people strong when I got there. and what you do when you get there, well, shit, that's a whole nother conversation. But the point is no, not everybody responds, and you can't take it personal. It's nothing personal. It's a numbers game. It's just like anything else. You got to send out 30 to get 5 responses to get one that fits in this scenario.
Great, and that's a wonderful tip, because I know I was asking our community about, some of the concerns that they had in even using Meetup as a platform, and so one of the concerns was, sometimes people are non-responsive. I'm really curious on your end of it. Did you have any concerns initially, and what was your experience in terms of overcoming or mitigating those concerns?
I think that the average person's concern, and this is just from years of self-development and going to Tony Robbins and walking on fire and taking NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and studying body language. And at the end of the day, all that's great. This is straight from street smarts of being at thousands of events, meeting hundreds of thousands of people, and seeing it over and over and over. I think that the average person's concern is simply that they're not good enough. The person's not going to respond. What do I do? I'll be embarrassed if I reach out and they don't respond. What if I waste my time sending this out? God, what if they do respond? Now what do I do? How do I talk to this person? Like, people just, they're hung up in their own head. And what I can share with you is this: when you're hung up in your own head about all of that stuff, it's because you're focused on you. And the trick and the key is to get out of your own head, get into your heart, and focus on that person, that group, that situation. How can I be of service? What can I bring to this person? How is my speaking going to improve their group or help those people become better networkers? In my case, everybody's got their own thing they're going to talk about if they're wanting to speak. Or even if you're not a speaker, even if we're just talking about reaching out to people in general just to bridge the humanity gap, just to be friendly, it's really important that you think to yourself, how can I be a contribution to this person? How can I find out what they're working on and what their needs are? I like to ask people, don't ask people, how can I help you? Because the average person, even though they need help, they don't want to ask for help. I ask people more of like, hey, what are you working on right now? And when I ask them what they're working on, and they tell me, then I can offer up my resources. Right? Let me put you in touch with this person, or let me see if I can't get you this free venue, or let me see if I can find this sponsor to help you with coffee at your event, whatever that is. So it's a matter of getting out of our own heads, stop being so worried about what people think about you and how you show up. And well, you want to think about how you show up. Don't get me wrong. We want to posture, package, and present the product, which is you, in a positive light. But at the end of the day, stop worrying about ourselves and see how we can be a contribution to that person. And then we don't get so caught up in our head and nervous about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I really hear in what you're saying is it's really beyond the speech, or it's beyond just the product and service itself. It's really building this deeper level of relationship.
Well, absolutely. So, there's a buzz going around right now that talks about the heart, the head, and the hands. And so many people get caught up in their head. They're heady. What am I going to say when I meet people? What am I going to say on the stage? What if they don't like me? What if this? What if that? We're all caught up in our heads, and then we're in our heads about wanting to deliver a lot of content and talk. If we get on the stage, I got all this content that I want to deliver, all these tips. God knows, I'll tell you right now, my biggest downfall of the years has been that I'm a fire hose of information, and I give out so much information that nobody can take it all in because it's so hard and fast. So I've had to learn to take it back. And when we start with our heart, people need to be able to engage with us with their heart and open the heart and feel us. That's why I talk about my alcoholism. That's why I'm transparent about my problems and my issues that I had to overcome, because it helps people see, gosh, if she can be a single mother living in a mobile home, driving a Hyundai and on food stamps, and overcoming alcoholism, and still going out networking and still going in with that stack of cards over and over. And if she can do it, I can do it. And so we have to get people to open up via heart before they'll open up via head, before they will be able to open their hands. And when they open their hands, it's a matter of them receiving the information. And sometimes it's looking at it as they're in their hand, they've got their credit card and they're ready to go further with you. But the thing is that if we're not selling, we're not serving. When people pay, they pay attention. And so, when I do these speaking engagements, they're free. I don't get paid to go to other people's meetups. But when I get there and I give some I speak with my heart, and then I give them some information to show that I'm an expert, speak with my head. Then when I open my hands and offer to go further, I'm not looking to get all 30 of those people in the room to be interested in me. I'm not trying to convert people. People will say, how do you, quote, convince someone to do business with you? You absolutely do not. If you're trying to convince, you're in your head, and you're in the survival and push and strain and pull and chase mode. You want to attract. In those 30 people in the room, there's probably 10 that will come up and talk to me. At the end of the day, there might be 5 that become some type of a customer or client or friend. But I have to position myself so that they want to do that. And that's what Meetup is all about. Meetup is a platform where you can contact people in any city, USA, that has the same like mind as you, and you can either research, reach out, relationship build with people before you go just as a networking strategy, or you can reach out to them and offer to actually teach something and be the edified expert, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I hope everybody is writing that down, because I feel like Angel just gave us gold. So please make sure you're writing down those 3 steps: research, reach out, and relationships. So once again, it's research, reach out, and relationships. So Angel, I'm really curious. I mean, for our community, we have women entrepreneurs. We also have male allies, and a lot of the women in our community, they're fiercely independent. They're out there, they're moving, they're shaking, they're doing everything they can on their own with limited resources. And I guess my question for you is, how do you know when's the right time to work with an expert? What should you do yourself versus when should you work with an expert, let's say on Meetup? And how do you know the expert is a good expert? Like, how did you figure out which expert to hire for Meetup?
Well, I tell you, the gentleman that I hired spoke on a stage. And if I had just met him in the group and he handed me a card and said, hey, I coach people on Meetup, I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have understood. I wouldn't have cared. I probably wouldn't have gone anywhere. So but he was on a stage and he was speaking about what he did. And he spent the 15 or 20 minutes explaining what he did. So I go right back to get on a stage. Get on a stage. If you are a mover and a shaker and a go-getter, if you are, in my speaker packet, it says, I am fiercely entrepreneurial. So your tribe is just like me. And when you have that kind of fire in your belly, it is time to leverage up who you're associating with. Like when you go to these networking groups, reach out, relationship build with the leaders of the group. Get there early so that you can help out. When you help out, let me tell you all the things that happen with that. When you get there early and the movers and shakers are there and the speakers and whoever, and you've got quality time with them before the 50 people show up, that's when you can build a relationship. And you want to build a relationship with the mover and shakers. You're not there to get 30 business cards. You're not there to talk to everybody. You're there to make 3 good contacts that when you follow up, they actually know who you are. They're actually excited to hear from you. They actually want to talk about either doing business with you or collaborating with you or at least staying in touch with you. This isn't about card collecting. This is about business building. And so I love that your tribe is just like me. And the sooner you get on a stage, the sooner you will attract people. So when you're looking for someone, now I chose him because I saw him on a stage. I saw what he did. Now, at the end of the day, I got on the phone with him, and I had a conversation, and I liked him, and he built rapport with me, et cetera, et cetera. But when you're looking for someone to mentor you in any way, make sure that that mentor is being mentored. Like I have coaches all the time. Once you get a coach, it's not having a coach is like being a ship in the water without a rudder. You know, you can be the most beautiful ship in the world, but if you don't have a rudder and a sail up or an engine going, you're not going anywhere. And so you want to have a mentor that's mentored by others. You want somebody that either has been referred to you, like you and I were referred to each other. And so because we were referred, we took the time to get on the phone, get to know each other, and now we're doing this interview. So you want it to be somebody that was either referred to you and or you heard them in an interview like this, and what they say resonated with you. You know, you don't want to work with somebody just because, you know, they promise you the world or they say they're going to help you make X amount of money. You need to really resonate with them. So, for example, if there's 100 people right now listening, you know, it's not my intention to make all 100 want what I have. But if there's 3 or 4 that hear this and reach out to me and say, hey, Cammie, I want to learn how to do meetups. I want to get on stages. I want to speak. Can you teach me how to do that? Well, then I'll change 4 people's lives, and I will help them do what I've done, whether they want to do it in their own backyard, whether they want to move from one city to another and create a new circle of relationship, or whether they want to take it on a speaking tour. And if you want to talk about that, we'll talk about what I'm doing currently.
Yeah, I would love to hear. What are you doing currently?
So I have seen that, as you mentioned, they're in 45,000 cities. So anywhere you go, USA, you have got a plethora of platforms to plug into. Ooh, I love that. Plethora of platforms to plug into. I need to write that down.
Great alliteration.
I'm the alliterator. So when you plug in, you can be, listen to this, my friends, you can step into being who you say you are. This is not about being fake. This is not about putting on airs. This is saying who you are. So let's say, for example, you know, I was in network marketing, and I work with a lot of network marketers, whether you're network marketing or whether you're wanting to start your own business. And most people know that you've had failures, and they know about your family life, and they know about your history and blah, blah, blah. So what? Start networking, specifically going to meetups, new meetups, and start being who you say you are. You want to be successful. You want to be professional. You want people to see you as a leader, then that's who you be. And you hold your shoulders back and you hold your head up high, and that's who you be. That's how I went from being a full-blown alcoholic who got sober to being in top 5% of real estate and then top 3% of network marketers, and now a coach for myself and Mingle to Millions. And I don't say that to impress you, but to impress upon you, once again, guys and gals, if I can do it, anybody can do it. So you walk into these events as who you say you are. So that leads me to, how did Cammie Baker change her name and her persona to Angel West? So I've met a gentleman whose name is John West, and I won't get into the whole story. He and I are going to create a video that we put out to explain how beautiful the transition has been. But he has called me his angel from the day that we met, to the point where there was a day where we were all alone and just having a beautiful moment of quiet, just being present together. We were staring into each other's eyes. And as we were sitting together in this moment, he said that he actually saw my aura and could see my wings, and I was truly his angel. And so Angel West has been born. It's just divinely inspired, and think it's crazy, like it or leave it. That's who I am now, is Angel West. And so when I talk about repositioning yourself, that this is a prime example of it. So now I've moved from the Boston area to the Seattle area. And when I reach out to meetups here, I'm reaching out as Angel West. And the thing is, just like anyone else on the call, when you reach out to people, perception is reality. People only know what you tell them. You're not bringing your baggage. You're not bringing your history. You're not bringing your failures. You can bring your successes, like I will, I'll show them the book. I'll talk about the interviews I've done. And all those interviews do say Cami Baker instead of Angel West. But the point of the matter is we can use networking and meetups specifically as a way to position ourselves as who we want to be. So all you go-getters out there, you know, when we walk into a networking event, we walk in as the successful professional we say we are. And then when we are being that, when we are just being it, now guess what? We have to live up to it. Now we have to do the things that that successful business person would do so that we now have what that person would have. See, the average person looks at what they have and then they do something based on that because they want to be happy or they want to be successful or they want to be professional. But it's reversed. We got to back that up. We got to be it first so that we do what that person would do and then we have what they would have. And that's exactly what Angel West is doing, and that's what Cami Baker has done for the last 12, 15 years.
I love that. It's so powerful. And I'm really curious, I mean, from a branding, rebranding perspective, because I know there's a lot of women entrepreneurs out there. They're going through something very similarly. Maybe they're not changing their first name or their last name, but maybe they're changing their business name or repositioning what their business is or who it speaks to. And I'm really curious, I mean, what are your suggestions for them if they have a meetup that's no longer called the name that they're transitioning to? Do they keep that meetup that same name? Do they transition it to the new brand? Do you have any suggestions on that?
Well, you know, I'm right in the middle of doing it myself right now. And what I can share with all those people is beautiful what's happening for me because it helps me to step into what does that look like. And the average person is rebranding themselves. If you're stepping out of corporate into entrepreneurship, if you're an entrepreneur and you're creating your logo and your brand, you're doing exactly what I'm doing. And so, you know, if you currently have a meetup that's not working, you know what? So what? Start a new one. Just start a new one. Because at the end of the day, we can have several different meetups that are all pointing to the same meeting. I'll give you an example. This one is just easy for me to canter out. I used to do a real estate class, and I could have a meetup for real estate professionals, and I could have one that said, how, let's see, how does it go again? 3 simple steps that seasoned agents need to know that is costing them hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, or 3 simple steps that brand new agents are making that is costing hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, or the 3 mistakes that women realtors are making that is costing them hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. In other words, I can have 3 different events because if I just say realtor, the seasoned agent's going to think, well, I'm too seasoned, I don't need that. Or the new agent's going to think, oh, I'm too new, I probably don't need that. So if I speak directly to the seasoned, the new, and the woman realtor, it's going to touch them a little bit more because it's specifically about them. And then when they get to the meetup, when they get to the event, the information's all the same. It doesn't matter if you're seasoned, new, woman, male, whatever. It's still all the same information that is costing them hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. It just the advertisement, the enticement, the title spoke to them specifically to get them in the room so that they could make that switch in their business. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely does. Now, I'm curious, have you had anybody ever confront you and say, okay, I saw this meetup, it was, you know, this topic for women, and then I also saw this meetup, it was this topic for real estate, and I joined both groups, and it's the same event?
No. Well, first of all, and here's the thing. You know, I'm more of a beg for forgiveness than ask for permission kind of person.
Me too.
and so when people get there, look, I've been to an event. Here's how I got this idea. I went to an event in Boston. The advertisement on Facebook said, "Women speakers are in demand. Come learn how to be a speaker. Now, I go to these events because I can always get a tip or two, and guess who's in the audience? They are my tribe. They are my people. They want to get on stages, so I'm there to get the information, and I'm there to network, make new friends, and get new clients. So me and 3 of my female friends all jump in the car, and we head to this event. I had 2 male friends ask if they could come, and I said, no, it's for women speakers. We get there. There's 150 people in the room, and I'd say 60% of the room were men. Men. So we are all looking at each other, and being the inquisitive people that we are, I'm always looking at the event. Gals, when you go to an event, always look at how they've got it set up. Where is the registration table? What forms are they using? How are the speakers set up? Are they using PowerPoint? Just look at all of it. Consume that information. So we're looking around, and we're all like, yeah, it said this is for female speakers. But at the end of the day, here's the trick. There were 2 ads that were out. Female speakers are in high demand. Come learn how to be a speaker. And the other one was simply this. Speaking is the fastest growing industry in the world. Come learn how to be a speaker. That one spoke to the men. So the room was full of men and women, and the fact is, speaking is the fastest growing industry, and female speakers are in demand. It's the truth. And so the information that the gentleman was providing was exactly that which was advertised. And it's the same for me. In that particular scenario, seasoned agents, brand new agents, and female agents all can benefit from that information. I just spoke to each one so that they would hear that it was for them. It doesn't matter what gets them in the room. What matters is when they get in the room, they get the value. They get exactly what was promised, and they're all very happy about that.
I love it. And I love how you have such integrity with the marketing that you're doing.
Well, it is. And thank you for saying that, because your question almost kind of led to how people might feel like they were duped when they got in the room. But the fact of the matter is, when they get in the room, they get exactly what was promised. And so when you're doing a meetup and you're rebranding or branding yourself, if you're doing one right now that's just flailing around and dying a horrible, slow death, you know what? It might be easier to give birth than to raise the dead. In other words,
that's a quote.
Start over, and don't be so worried that people are going to see and they're going to watch. People see exactly what you put out to them. So, for example, I could have a meetup in Seattle under the name Cammie Baker, and I could have a meetup in that area under the name Angel West. I wouldn't have them both come to the same group because that would be confusing. Who is this person? But my point is if I had both of these different groups, people aren't interested. The bottom line is people are way more interested in themselves than they are in us, and that's a beautiful thing. We don't have to be caught up on what people think about all that stuff. Just create your group, but get somebody like Sunel. See, he talked to me about how to name the group. How to name it is very important, so that you get the most people finding it. What zip code to use in that general area, what day of the week to post it so that it comes up properly when Meetup says that it can. And there's a lot of technical aspects in the Meetup that he can explain that I can't. So there's people like that. Always find an expert in specifically what you're going to do. But now that Sunel has helped with the technical part and gotten the Meetup up, another thing that you and I are talking about today is how to keep the relationships going. Great. Now you've got a Meetup. Now you're holding your own Meetup. Awesome. What are you going to do? Like, where are you going to have the Meetup? How are you going to find a venue? How are you going to set it up? What does it look like? What does it physically look like to set that Meetup up? How are you going to engage with the people that are coming so that when they RSVP, there's actually more of a chance of them showing up? And then at the Meetup, how do you engage with them so that they feel welcome and honored to be there, and they have a great time, and they tell their friends about it, and they want to come back again, and they want to do business with you. See, all of that is the art of bridging the humanity gap.
Mm. So I know just by asking those questions, I'm sure our listeners are like, oh, I want her to tell me all the answers. So I'm curious, Angel, in terms of actually having more people show up at your events, there's definitely a common concern with a lot of speakers and authors and trainers in our community that, they start a meetup group and then, people don't always show up, or they RSVP and they don't show up. Do you have any suggestions on how to get people in the door more successfully?
Yes. So people who pay attention. People who are invested. So even if you have a $10 or $20 entry fee, believe it or not, it's going to create a better turnout because people are invested. They got skin in the game. They put some money on the table. Now, a lot of people will do them for free because they just want it free and they want as many people to come as they can. But the thing is, people that come to a free meeting they're there for the free pizza. They're there for the free beer. They're there because it's free. And don't get me wrong, I have been to 1,000 free events. I go to them all the time. But when we have a little bit of an investment, we're actually bringing in more qualified people. Now, for those of us who are heart-centered and say, well, I really don't want to charge and I don't want to seem like I'm trying to make money off the meetup, or whatever that mindset is, whatever that holdup is, here's a way to get around that. Find a charity that you believe in strongly, because cause marketing is so big right now. People want to do business with people who are giving back, who are contributing, who are active in making this a better world. So find a organization that you are passionate about. Let it be known. Let's say it's the American Red Cross, just because I need one to talk about. So your event, all the proceeds go to the American Red Cross. Well, now the American Red Cross needs to be contacted so that they know that your meetup is going to benefit them. Guess what? They've got a huge email list. You talk to the right people, they may promote it, at least in that area. Hey, go to this meetup, blah, 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 because the more people that go, the more money that they're going to get. They may actually show up. They may actually become a sponsor of your event. And now when people pay the $20, they in their heads know that it's a contribution. Now they've still paid it. They've still got skin in the game, which is why they show up. People don't want to lose their money. They want to get their money's worth. But they also know that it's going to a worthy cause. So people buy on emotion and they justify with logic. Always, every time. They buy on emotion and they justify with logic. So when I say the 3 mistakes women realtors make that is costing them hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, they are emotionally like, wow, women make that mistake? I want to go see how I, as a woman, can stop making that mistake and get one up on the men. They're emotionally invested, but then they justify with logic. Well, the $20 went to the American Red Cross, and it's really a good cause, and if I get a couple pieces of information, that's great, and I'll meet some great people. So they buy on emotion, and they justify with logic. So get a cause that you're passionate about, and they will help promote it too.
That is such a juicy nugget. So I really hope everybody that has some pens and paper are writing that down. Write down cause marketing. That's really fabulous. And now, so you answered the question for people that are first really trying to build that audience or, increase their conversions. In terms of people, let's say, that have had a meetup for a while and they really want to go from, having casual people just come in and out of their group to really forming a community with deeper relationships, that kind of deal. Do you have any suggestions for them as a relationship building expert?
For sure. So number one, I would have to see what the name of their group is and how they're marketing it. In other words, like for example, when people ask me how I am, I say I'm fabulous, fierce, and on fire. And I've got a T-shirt that says that. And I would love to have a meetup group of the fabulous, fierce, and on fire women. But that is not going to come up in an SEO search. That is not going to pull up when people are looking for entrepreneurs and networking and business building, et cetera, which are my tribe. Do I want fabulous, fierce, and on fire women? Hell yeah. But I don't want to just come together and sing Kumbaya. I want people there that are business-minded, that are movers and shakers and doing things in the world. So first of all, I would say look at the language that you're using for many reasons. Are you using language because you like it and you're attached to that and you have the name of a group that isn't attracting people, both from an SEO search and from a just from a logical standpoint? People buy on emotion and they justify it with logic. So we need to look at how is your group named? What are your events called? For example, that first event that I did in that group that I was talking about, it was business networking in Boston, and I don't have the name right in front of me, but it mentioned entrepreneurs, CEOs, business networking Boston. Like that was the name of it. Nothing sexy, nothing alluring, but it was SEO, and it would capture anyone who was looking for that type of stuff. Then the name of the event was Ditch the Pitch. 30-second elevator pitch is dead. Because I know that networkers hate the 30-second elevator pitch. And for me personally, I know it's a dinosaur and it's been dead for a long time. So I have a fun way of talking about it and explaining it. So the name of the group is something that is not sexy. It just will pull up SEO. But then the events, we can be a little bit more creative. So I'd have to look at how they're doing that, number one, to get people in the door and to attract the right tribe. You don't want everyone. When we try to be everything to everyone, we end up being nobody to no one. So we do want to niche it down, and I wanted people who understood. Ditch the pitch. The 30-second elevator pitch is dead. I wanted people who, if you know what that means, you're my kind of people. You've been at business events and you're tired of the elevator pitch, et cetera. That thing was full within 24 hours and had a waiting list within 48 hours to come to that event. Now, when the people are there, now is when we really need to understand the whole concept of a meeting. You know, we got to get there early. My God, I've been to venues where you get there and it is totally not set up right. There's round tables in the room. Like round tables in the room separates people. Or there's a big table up front and the presenter is behind the table or the podium and then the other people are sitting down. Now there's separation between you and them. You don't want separation. You want to come together. So you want to, first of all, set the room up so that it's conducive for people to even want to be interactive in a community. And you want to have music on so that it's not awkward. Like all of these things are little tips that will make your meeting better. And now that the people are there, you want to greet them. You want to shake their hand warmly. You want to look them in the eye. You want to stop saying, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? And start talking to them about, hey, what projects are you working on right now? Tell me something about you that has nothing to do with your job or where you're from. Like, really engage people so that they feel heard. Get them excited about being there. And then when you're having the meeting, now they're much more engaged. Now they're sitting down and paying attention because now they're really curious about what you got going on. Now they really want to be there. And if it's a networking event where you're not necessarily presenting, maybe some of your people are doing something more like just an open networking event, okay, great. Make a game out of it. You know, find a way to have a game out of it. There's one thing that we do, networking bingo, you know, have a bingo card with different things on there. Find somebody who has not been on Facebook today, you know, find someone who knows what an 8-track tape player is, like just silly things or whatever. Just have some kind of a game or a way to get people interacting in a new way so that they're actually net webbing, So they're actually building that net web and engaging. And there's other things you can do. You can see on the right-hand side of your Meetup every person who signed up. You can interact with them. You can reach out to them. You can send them a personal message. Hey, Bill, I see that you run blah, blah company. That's so exciting. When you come to the event, I'd love to introduce you around personally. Can I count on you to be there 15 minutes early? I'd love to introduce you around. In other words, reach out to people. You can offer to do a Zoom before the meetup so that they can actually start to interact with each other and have a little meet and greet before the meeting so that they are more invested in wanting to come meet each other face to face. You can do a Zoom after the meetup as a way of following up. Just offer out to, because once people have joined your group, you can reach out to them. You can send them a message in Meetup. Hey, gang, had a great time last night. Want to really thank Mary for this and Bill for that and blah, blah, blah. We're going to have a Zoom tomorrow at noon or whenever just to get reconnected, see what we can do to do some business together, blah, blah, blah. So there's all kinds of things that we can do besides, here's what the average person does, Jose. They create their Meetup with the wrong language, number one. They sit back and wait for people to show up. And when 3 people show up, they sit at that Meetup and they complain about how only 3 people showed up and they apologize for it. Shame on you. However many people show up is perfect. Don't discount that person by apologizing that they showed up. Imagine that. Imagine people do that all the time. Yeah, I was expecting 25 people and there's only 3 people here. Those 3 people got in their car and they drove there. They're there to network. They're there to meet people. We need to celebrate that they're there. And sometimes the smaller meetups are better anyway, because now you can really, really talk to people. Instead of floating around the room and meeting 10 or 15 people that don't remember you, having just 3 people there, you can say, hey, I am so glad that this is an intimate setting. We're all going to get to know each other. And then just start netwebbing. Because all you want is 3 relationships anyway. You're not looking for 30. You don't have time for 30. There's no way to create 30 relationships in an hour. If only 3 people show up, that is perfect. That's who's supposed to be there, and we need to celebrate that and stop making them feel bad for showing up. That's what people do every day. Apologize. Stop it. Start celebrating people because they showed up.
I love that. I think it's so powerful. I've heard so many people say that in the past at meetups that I've gone to, and it does. It's a mood killer. And it also really, to your point, it really mitigates the other people in the room. You could have some major power players in the room, and now you're thinking, oh, it's only 3 people. Maybe it's not even worth talking to them. But if you have, what Angel said as the context in your head, that, it's not about getting as many people. It's not about quantity. It's about quality and really honing in on your 3 people, then, and putting them in your net web, that could really make your business in ways you never would have made it if you had talked to 30 people and never had a deeper conversation. So I really love that, Angel.
Well, thank you. And frankly, I have learned that the smaller the group, sometimes the better. You really get to know each other. So I talk about, here's my other alliteration. We communicate, then we conversate to collaborate so we can create the impact, income, and influence that we're all looking for. So you and I are on this interview because we are looking for, in some form or fashion, impact, income, and influence, and/or influence. And everybody listening is looking for a combination of those as well. And it all starts with how we communicate, and then conversate, and then collaborate. So if we're communicating and our Meetup text the right thing that attracts our kind of tribe, then when they show up, or even before, when we do some research, reach out, relationship build, before they even show up, now we're communicating. Now we're just having a little chit chat. Now we need to understand our posture and our body language and what we're saying and how we're saying it. And to this point, stop mitigating people, start celebrating them, start applauding no matter who shows up. They're absolutely perfect. And then we can slowly or fastly or smoothly, I should say, go into collaborate. And the collaborate could be just a friendship, that you meet somebody that likes to go hiking and so do you. Awesome. We need that too. Or it could be that they want you to come speak on their stage. Or it could be that you want them to speak on your stage, or that they are the perfect client. So if we don't learn to communicate and then collaborate, we're never going to create, through collaborating, that impact, income, and influence.
Awesome. And I know people listening, they're just getting so much from this interview today with you, and we are going to need to wrap up in just a few minutes. So I want to make sure that before we wrap out, that people can reach out to you, they can really leverage all the great materials that you've created in your book and anything else you're offering. So how can more people get a hold of you?
Well, I have a free gift of the 3 mistakes entrepreneurs make that repel business and referrals. If you go to cammiebaker.com/gift, and it's C as in Charles, A as in Apple, M as in Mary, I as in Ingrid, and I'm sure you'll have it somewhere on the interview here, but cammiebaker.com/gift to receive that. And for anyone here, if you send me a private message on Facebook that you heard this interview through Jose, I'll actually send you a PDF of my book, Mingle to Millions, The Art and Science of Building Business Relationships and Mastering Referrals, which you can buy on Amazon for $20. But I'll give it to you for free if you reach out and tell me that you were on this interview.
Awesome. And I will follow up with everybody on the link to the free gift, which is cammiebaker.com/gift, and also remind everyone to reach out to you on Facebook. That's really fabulous. And I know that you've mentioned Sunil multiple times during this interview, and I wanted everybody to know that Sunil, we actually did an interview with Sunil earlier this month, so if you haven't listened to it, now is a good time to go back and also listen to the replay, because these two interviews go together really perfectly. So overall, Angel, what would you say? I mean, there's so many different things that you talked about today. If you could only leave the audience with 1 or 2 of the top things that will give them the biggest advantage, what would you say they are?
Every time I'm asked this question, I always go back to the same thing. It's who you associate with. We are only as good as the company we keep, and Mama always said that. I'm from the South, so I put the little twin. Mama always said, you're only as good as the company you keep. And we need to really take that to heart. Who are you associating with in every aspect, even in what you're listening to in the car? Are you listening to rock and roll, or do you have some Jim Rohn or Tony Robbins or people from your upline in your company or whatever? Who are you hanging out with? Are you hanging out with people who say, that's crazy, why are you doing that? Or are you hanging out with people that say, wow, that's awesome, go get it? Because negative people will say, that's crazy, why are you doing it? And positive entrepreneurs, doesn't really matter what you're doing, even with my name change. That's awesome, Cammie. Go for it. You're Angel now. You're Angel to me. If that's who you say you are, love it. Let's go with it. In other words, your association is so important. I call it changing your playgrounds and your playmates. So, for example, from now on, when we go to a meetup, let's take a big step back. We're not even creating a meetup yet. That's jumping into college. Let's get back into high school. We're just going to a meetup. There's one happening on Tuesday at 6 o'clock. You put it on your calendar. You know you're going to go. Why are you not? Research, reach out, relationship build. Why does our heart start to pound so much when we think about reaching out to someone? It's because we're stuck in our own head about ourselves. But when we reach out to the movers and shakers and we say, hey, Jose, I love your headshot. I love the name of this group. I'm super excited to come. I'm going to be there a little bit early. I'd love to offer to help out. Do you have a table where I can help you sign people in? Or is there something I can bring to support your meeting? And that person may or may not reach back out to you. But even if they don't reach back out to you, you still show up early. You still go over and introduce yourself and remind them, you know, my name is Angel West. A couple of days ago, I sent you a message through Meetup. Wanted to let you know I'd be here early to help out. Call them on the carpet just a little bit with a smile on your face, you know, and they'll either say, oh, I never checked that. I didn't see it. Sorry, my name's Bob. Or they might say, oh, yeah, I saw that. I'm so glad you showed up. Either way, get there early and start to help out and start to notice. If you're wanting to do a meetup, start to notice what works and what doesn't. I am so present and so aware when I go to a meeting. I see what doesn't work. I see people so uncomfortable because it's quiet. It's so silent. You feel like you need to whisper. You know, learn to put some music on. Notice how that makes a difference if there is music or there's not. Notice how the room is set up, how it's facing. Is it facing the windows and people can't really see the presenter? You know, just all of it, anything and all of it. Get there early. That's what I would say, because when you get there early, you're upping your association, and that's what's important.
Awesome. So very, very powerful. I wanted to thank you so much for being on today's show with us, and I really encourage everybody listening to take Angel up on her offer. Find her on Facebook and reach out to Angel West. Also, are you also known as Cammie Baker on Facebook?
Well, it's Cammie Baker with Angel West in parentheses, and there's also Mingle to Millions, which is the business page. And over the next few months, the Cammie Baker part will fall to the side. But if you want to watch my videos, learn more about all this stuff, I've got all the fun videos. When I wrote the book, I actually did it via video. I videoed it first, then had transcribed into a book. I can talk to you about that too. But if you go on YouTube and search Cammie Baker, that's how you'll find all the videos and stuff until we get the name switched over.
Perfect. So make sure to go to YouTube, or you could go to Facebook/Mingle2Millions, and that's 2TO, Mingle 2 Millions. So, Angel, thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate you. I appreciate your energy. I love how you're all about celebrating people and having women entrepreneurs and our male allies step into their highest potential and just be smart about their business and strategic about their strategies and, you know, really immerse themselves in the world of what you would call net webbing. So thank you so much for being here.
It's my honor. You guys reach out to me, and if you want me to review your meetups or any of your networking, net webbing strategies, I'm here to do that. Thank you so much.
Perfect. And for everybody else who's still on the call with us today, please note we're going to send you out a survey at the end of this call. It only takes 2 minutes to fill it out. Let us know what you thought of today's interview, and let us know about other topics you might want to hear from Angel West on, or about other topics related to Meetup, other questions you have. Really, your feedback is what we use primarily to decide what topics we're doing and where you need the most support. So please take 2 minutes to fill out this survey, and you can also win big, because every quarter we pick a winner, and you could win a $600 valued consultation that will help you make the biggest difference in your business, okay? So until we meet again, keep going to meetups, keep learning the best practices, keep being strategic about your business, and keep promoting your business and each other online, offline, all the time. So Angel, give me a P.
P.
Give me an H.
H.
Give me a B.
B.
What do you say?
Hey.
Give me a P.
P.
Give me an H.
H.
Give me a B.
B.
What do you say?
Hey.
Hey, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.